Cool. So we're gonna get it going today. Today's lesson is one that I like to do at least like once a year. So you'll probably notice if you do continue on past a year, you're gonna say like, oh, she's done this one before. Because it's very, very, very important. So I want to make sure that everybody at some point gets this education. All right, it's getting down to the science of understanding your training program. Like I do with literally everything in this program, I think the number one thing that helps us be compliant to actually want to do things is understanding why. It's like, okay, yeah, go to the gym, eat this much, cool, but like, why? Why am I doing these things? When we understand why, it's so much easier to make sure that we are actually like following through and we're enjoying the process and we're not just kind of going through the motions. So before I get started in the chat, put one win that you have had in the past 7 days. Any win, it could be in the gym, it could be in nutrition wise, in the personal life, professional life, anything. Any win that you've had, did you hit a PR? Did you just start this journey? Did you meal prep? I don't know. Did you make more time for yourself? One win that you've had in the past week. Feeling confident in the bathing suit? Okay. Love that for you. I love that. I got a promotion. Yay. I saw your post. Congratulations. That's amazing. Oh, so happy. You deserve that. What is my win? My win is I actually got injured, and it's funny because I'm telling you, so many of us are in sync. There's been so many injuries lately. And I injured my lat. I have no idea how. It was like one day to another. Like literally 1 week I did 10 pull-ups. And the next week I went and I couldn't even lift myself up. I was like it felt like my lat didn't work. But today it finally felt like, okay, it's been like 3 weeks since I've had this and it's been getting better. And I feel like in the past I would have like kind of got like really frustrated, but I just was more patient with it and I didn't really put too much pressure on myself. And I feel like that's a win for me because it's kind of shows like my growth mindset in how much I've grown within my fitness journey. So that's my win. So did 4 to 4 workouts despite a busy week. Love that. I went to the gym today. That reminds me. That's another win for me. I went to the gym today when I wasn't, but I was like, oh, fuck it. I don't want to go on Thursday. So gotta do what you gotta do. All right. Anybody else that wants to drop a win in the chat, go ahead and put it in there and we are going to get started. I will, at any point, if you have any questions, feel free to either unmute yourself or you can put them in the chat. Yeah. So today we are talking about understanding your training program. Oh, somebody is coming in. Okay. Understanding your training program. So again, the importance of this is to avoid just, am I recording? Yes. Importance of this is to avoid just going through the motions. Have understanding to motivate you to push harder. I am personally somebody that if you tell me to do something, I want to know why. That's where my passion comes from. And yeah, so this is where I want you to understand your training program. Why is it structured out this way? And again, when you eventually move on, what are the things that you should be looking for in your fitness journey? So today we're going to talk about 4 things. Why a full body split and not different body parts each day? I think 90% of you, when we first do our audit, I'm like, oh, what do you do for your workouts? It's like, oh, I do chest, and then I do arms, and then I do abs. All right, we get away from what is called like a bro split or a classic body part split, and we do either a full body split or an upper lower split. We're going to talk about why we do 4 weeks, why the order of workouts, and how we can adjust workouts if needed. All right, so let's start with number 1. Why a full body split and not a different body part each day? All the bros and the bodybuilders talk about chest day and back day and shoulder day and lat day and leg day. All right, we don't want to do that. Number 1 is to create consistency. All right, when you are in phase 1, the number 1 thing that you want to prove to yourself and also me as your coach is that you can get your workouts done. That's why there's those 3 full body lifts that we mainly focus on. Because the reality is, if we have any type of inconsistency, that takes away from the total volume, which I'm going to get to in a second, takes away from the total volume that we're doing throughout the week. Because if we're trying to hit your legs or your arms or your shoulders or your back a certain amount per week, and we are missing workouts, right, that's gonna get in the way of your progress. But when we are able to really focus on those 3 major lifts, that puts a little bit less pressure, especially when you're first starting a journey, that yes, I'm gonna make sure I prioritize these 3 lifts rather than making sure that you're going 5-6 times a day. Now, number 2 is training volume. So your training volume, I'm gonna nerd out a little bit, is your sets times your reps times your weight use, right? As well as intensity, but that kind of goes into it. And what I mean by that, and to explain it in a simple way, imagine if you did 6 leg exercises in one day. Let's say we only did leg day and chest day and back day and shoulder day and ab day. Imagine for each one of those body parts, each day you only did 6 exercises for that body part. So in this case, we'll say legs, right? Throughout the week, the first exercise that you do, you're obviously gonna have a lot of energy. So you're gonna be able to lift a lot. The second exercise you do for that body part, you'll be a little bit more tired, you're gonna lift a little less. The third exercise, you're gonna be more tired, you're gonna lift a little bit less. And as it goes throughout these 6 exercises, whatever body part you're doing that day, right? If you were to compound and just hammer that body part, by the last exercise, there's only so much energy that you can do, and there's almost so much weight that you can do. So if for those exercises, you did 60 pounds and then 50 pounds, and you're a little tired to do 40 pounds, and you did 30 pounds, and you did 20 pounds, and you did 10 pounds, right? The amount of weight that you did throughout the entire week for that one body part, if you just hammered it on one day, would be 210 pounds. And again, I'm just using very, very simple numbers here. Now, what if we took those same exercises and we put them across 3 days instead of 1? So instead of just doing chest day and back day and leg day and shoulder day, we're taking all of those exercises and we're hitting them 3 days a week, and we're separating them. So yes, less exercises per muscle group on a day, but what happens throughout the week is day 1, that first exercise you do for legs, we have energy, we're able to push heavy. That second exercise, obviously you lifted a little bit less, but then coming back the second day, that third exercise, we're able to lift heavy from the jump, second exercise a little bit less, and this is what it's looking like across the week. So again, here is the amount that you are lifting per week. So when I'm hitting my legs 3 times a week and I'm not hammering my legs, first exercise 60 pounds, second exercise 50 pounds, and I do that 3 times a week, in total for the week, I'm doing 330 pounds. So 6 exercises in one day, just hammering one muscle group, 210 pounds. 6 exercises spread across 3 workouts, I'm doing 330 pounds. It's still the same amount of exercises that you're doing, but when it's spread throughout the week, we are able to lift so much more, as you can see here. Are you following with that? Does that make sense? I tried to simplify. Okay, cool. I know I've gotten that question too, like, should I just be doing chest? Should I just be doing legs? Like, this is why. We'll never just do a chest day or back day or anything like that. Or like a glute day or a quad day. I know there's everything. Now, another thing, my phase 2 girls, right? Phase 2 fit checks. Eventually you will be put on an upper lower split. So you'll have 2 upper body days and 2 lower body days. Never again, no chest day, no back day, no quad day, no hamstring day, nothing like that. It'll be 2 upper body days and 2 lower body days. That'll be the switch, right? So if you're in phase 2 and you're like, wait, I'm not doing full body lifts anymore. Another reason is this. At this point, you've already proven that you can get that consistency in. So when you get into your upper lower split, I say you only have to go to the gym 4 times a week now, right? But you gotta get those 4 days in. Like, I don't care how you do it, you just got to get those 4 days in, right? Consistency is now in, we are able to do an upper lower split. Second thing is you can lift much heavier and you can withstand much more volume in a session. When you first start, you don't need that much volume in order to progress. And we always want the minimum effective dose. So this is why your program is set out the way it is. You start with full body, eventually you go into an upper lower. Next thing, you're gonna need more time for recovery. When you get to this split, you're gonna be lifting much heavier, right? Much heavier. You're gonna know how much you can really lift, and you're gonna be pushing yourself to an intensity that you really didn't even understand that you had when you first started. And you're gonna need more time to recover in order to get back into the next session. And Next is to add a new stimulus to continue to get the body changing, right? So we start with full body, and then when you get into phase 2, you get into an upper lower split. Sometimes I do put phase 1 girls into an upper lower split, but that kind of just depends on the individual and your goals and where I kind of see you in terms of consistency and how much you're lifting. Again, if you have any questions, let me know. Next, why 4 weeks? So why do we work in 4-week blocks? Number one, I don't think I actually put this in there. Number one is because it would be really annoying if you got a different workout all the time. I can only imagine if you notice week 1, it's like, oh, these are new movements. I gotta watch the videos. I gotta make sure my form is right. Where am I at? So that's gonna be number 1. But more on the science part, it's because of progressive overload. So progressive overload is when you gradually increase weights, reps, or even form over time. So if today or last month you were only able to do 30 pounds on a squat, and the next month you're doing 50 pounds, right? You are practicing progressive overload, right? Your muscles are constantly getting progressed. It doesn't have to be through weight. It could be in the amount of reps. So when we work through rep ranges, right? When I say like 10 to 15 reps, and you do 10 reps for 10 pounds, but now you're doing the 10 reps for 15 pounds, that's progressive overload, right? And the next thing is form over time. So if your form is better and you're now working through a bigger range of motion or a better range of motion, this is also progressive overload. So this is our number 1, well, not number 1, the volume would be second. So then number 2. Number 2, in order to see those body changes, we need to make sure that we are progressively overloading on the muscles. So over the course of 4 weeks, week 1, you are finding a baseline. Sometimes you're getting movements that you've never done before. You're just seeing this movement, you're like, how much should I lift? And you grab a weight and you're like, oh, no, that was way too light. Or you're like, oh, that was way too heavy, I should go down. Right? Week number 1 is finding a baseline. How much should I be lifting for this block, for these new movements? And sometimes it doesn't even have to be a new movement. It's like, oh, I haven't done this movement in a long time. Like, what should I be lifting for? Again, finding that baseline. Week 2, we are either increasing the weight or improving from the current weight. So once you get that baseline, you're like, okay, week 1, this is how much I did. Week 2, you already know either where that was too easy what I did last week, this is where I'm gonna start, or that was a good amount of weight. I want to make sure that I'm doing that weight better, right? And then week 3, same thing. We're either increasing the weight or improving the form or getting more reps in. And then week 4 is pushing for block PRs. This is that week where you are going at it. You've had these same lifts for 4 weeks now. You should be going in and it's all out. Damn, I really want to hit that 60 pounds. I really, really want to hit it. Go for it. This is where a lot of those fuck it reps go. This is a lot of like, damn, I just want to go for it. Maybe you'll fail. Maybe you get that one set where it's not the prettiest, but like you went for it. This all happens in week 4. Something to pay attention to over the course of these 4 weeks is if you're noticing your week 1 weight to your week 4 weight is super drastic. When you first start the journey, it will be. You'll start at like 20 pounds on week 1, and at week 4, you'll be like 50 pounds. If you notice a jump like this is your green flag that from the jump, you just went too light. So just pay attention to that. And I think I've mentioned this on a bunch of calls, because I had this big realization. I used to be like really afraid of lunges because they used to hurt, and now they don't hurt anymore. But like I had lunges and I was going like 30 pounds, 35 pounds. And then week 4, I was just like, fuck it, how much did I do? I did 40, 45, and I think I did 50 or whatever. But either way, I jumped about 20 pounds from my week 1 to week 4 weight. And I was like, there's no way at this level that I'm at right now, I got 20 pounds like stronger in the course of 4 weeks. If it was 5, if it was like 10, okay, but 20 is a big, big jump. So what that told me was next time I get lunges, I need to start much heavier. I shouldn't be starting at 30 pounds, which is what I was starting at week 1. And that translated into my split squats and any type of variation like that. So just pay attention. If you are having those big jumps, awesome. But you're also learning like, hey, can we start from a higher baseline next time so that week 1, 2, and 3 aren't just like, you should have been lifting heavier this whole entire time. The last thing that I'll say here is deloads. We don't talk a lot about deloads, but eventually when you do get into phase 2, I talk about it a little bit more. Deloads is a week in your program where you decrease the weight a little bit. For anybody in like beginners, if you're in your first 6 months, I would say you're pretty much a beginner. In your beginner phase, you naturally deload yourself in week 1 because you're not sure how much you should be lifting. So it's a lot of like, oh damn, I should have went heavier on that, or like, okay, next week I want to go heavier. That's just naturally deloading yourself. That's why we don't touch on it too much. But when you do become more advanced, you already know what your baseline is for the most part. And every 4 weeks, what I like to do is I only train at 70%, 70 to 80%. So I'm going at a lightweight. I like to do it week 1 because again, I like to find my baseline and it's just easier, but sometimes I will adjust my deload around my period. So during my period, I just decrease the weight, right? So another kind of ease of mind for you, if you ever feel like 1 week you're not lifting that heavy, or for your period, you can't lift that much, just know that every 4 weeks, I'm lifting at 70%. I'm only focusing on form, and this is what is called a deload. If you have any questions on this, if you're like, no, should I be deloading? Am I at that point yet? Just shoot me a message, we can talk about it. But eventually at some point, we do want to be deloading because you don't want to train at 100%, 365 days a year. Honestly, that would be absolutely impossible. And I like to deload because it just gives me a little break so that I can push the next 3 weeks. Especially after week 4, I'm like, I'm gonna go ham, and then the next week I can get a little bit break. Now next, the order of your workouts. Again, if you guys have any questions, please let me know. I think it'll pop up in the chat. Okay, yeah. So why the order of workouts? So number 1, we start off with your mobility, okay? And then we get into your warm-up. First, you wanna, mobilize, and especially for my people that are like me, that you wake up and you're walking to the gym, or you go straight to the gym, or you've been laying for like 6 hours, 7 hours. We wanna make sure that we're doing mobility first, and also it's very important. Next, we have our warm-up. Then you're gonna have your main compound lift of the day. So you'll notice that first comes the squats, the deadlifts, the bench press, the overhead press, the pull-ups, or the hip thrusts. There's a bunch of them. So that's gonna be your first lift. And then we get into our accessory. Your split squats, your RDLs, sometimes your overhead press, sometimes your incline press, right? This is the next set of exercise past that main lift. And then lastly, we have some type of isolation or a finisher. Finisher could be core, finisher could be a circuit. Finisher or isolation could be, I'm just doing leg extension, so it's just quads, or curls, which is just my biceps or just my triceps. It's just one muscle group that we're working. So this is how all of your workouts will flow. And the reason that they're in here is, number 1, our main focus, where most of our strength is gonna come from that day, is gonna be in that main compound lift. If your main compound lift is a split squat, but I make you do, regular squat, but I make you do lunges before, by the time you get to the split squat, you're gonna be tired. So we want all of your energy to be there. Sometimes people will ask me like, can I do like, I don't know, my circuit in the beginning, or can I move my RDLs, or can I move this? We don't want to move too many things before your main lift for that day, because all of your focus and energy and wants to go into that. Another thing to notice for this is this exercise here does take a lot more focus. It's really hard for you to mess up a bicep curl, but it's not hard for you to mess up a deadlift. So when we have it right past your warm up, your mental energy and your mental capacity is able to be at a higher point than if I were to make you deadlift at the end of your workout, right? And lastly, again, do we have questions on this? Let me know, because I'm saying a lot, right? And lastly, how can you adjust if needed? Because adjusting, 1, you can always ask. You can always ask like, hey, this is my situation. I noticed this for week 1. What can I do for next week? Or, hey, Nicole, like I did this adjustment for my workout. Is that okay? Or is there like a better way? Right? You are always open to ask if you want to adjust. But I do want you to learn how you can adjust, because most of the time when we need to adjust, it's on the fly. You're in the gym and you're like, ah, fuck, that's taken. Or like literally anything, like something's taken, or it's usually something's taken, or I can't do that, I don't have the equipment. Like, how can you adjust if needed? So there's gonna be a couple things. If you are low on time, I don't mind if you decrease a set. Now, I don't want you to do this all the time, but let's say the mobility is 2 sets and the warm up is 3 sets and the main lift is 4 sets. But you're like, I don't have a lot of time today. I'm just gonna do 1 set of mobility. I'm gonna do it really well. I'm gonna do 2 sets of warm ups and I'm gonna do 3 sets of my main compound lift. And maybe on my circuit, I'm just gonna do 1 set. This is, I don't want you, again, doing this all the time. I don't wanna be like, yeah, let's always like decrease a set. No, but if you are low on time, adherence is gonna be number 1, and if you had to decrease a set for certain things because you had to go somewhere, I do not mind. I'm just happy that you got in, just make sure that you are making the most out of your sets. So for my full body girls. If you ever come to the point where the squat rack is taken. So you did your mobility, you did your warm up, and then you have squats, and then after that you have bench press. I don't mind if you swap the upper and do the upper before the lower body. So that's something that I've had to do, where I go and I'm ready to squat and all the squat racks are taken and I look at my program and I'm like, okay. I have bench press after my squats, I'm just gonna do my bench, my working out my chest is not gonna fatigue me to do my squats. So if you are on the full body program and you end up doing, like you end up moving the upper body compound lift with the lower body compound lift, that's not a big problem. But for my upper lower split girls, don't really want you doing this too much. If you can be patient, if you can ask them like how many sets they have left if something is taken, but I've had to do it. So I won't say I haven't had to hip thrust before my squat because the person on the squat told me that they have 4 sets left and I'm not gonna wait there for 4 sets. Again, this is not something that's happening all the time, but if needed, you can move that around. Next thing is moving your supersets and your accessory. So once you get past those main compound lifts, again, your squat, your deadlift, your bench press, your overhead press, your pull-ups, even your hip thrust. Alright, once you get past that first big exercise, how you move around the next things, I don't really mind. Yes, there is some science to it, but the reality is, again, adherence is way more important, and I would rather you get through your workout quicker, more efficient than for you to focus on the perfect structure. So for example, today I was supposed to superset a back exercise with a tricep exercise and then do a shoulder exercise with another back exercise, but I was like, this doesn't make sense where I'm at right now because of what's taken. And I took the 2 supersets and I kind of went like this. And I just moved 1 and 1 and then another one and another one. I don't mind if you do that. I don't mind if you do RDLs before your split squat or lat pull downs before your rows, if that is the case. If you need to move things around or if you think supersetting these 2 exercises would be a lot easier, I'm 100% okay with that. Alright, so just be conscious of how you do it. And again, if you have questions, if you do it and you're not sure if that was okay, send me a message so that I can look over it. Next, adjusting in terms of equipment. So if it's a barbell, if you have to do dumbbell RDLs and you do barbell RDLs, not a big deal at all. If you're supposed to do cable kickbacks, but you go on that like hip extension machine thing, not a big deal. Alright, if it's little things like that, I don't mind if you switch the equipment. If the ball that I'm using in the video is the one that slams and doesn't move, but the only one that you have in the gym is the one that bounces a little bit more, not a big deal. Alright, so if you have to move around the equipment, not a big deal at all. Another one with this, I had ab rollouts. I don't know where that thing went in my gym, but I had it 1 week and then it just disappeared. And then instead of doing ab rollouts, I grabbed the big ball and then I did my rollouts on the ball. You guys have options for your spreadsheet, the movement swaps. There you will be able to find things that you can swap. So if you ever need any questions or it's something last minute, it should be in there. If not, you can ask me. Oh, I just said that. But for all of this, the reason that we do the volume the way that we do, the reason that we don't do chest day and back day and all this stuff, the reason that we do four week blocks and we progress every block and we deload and we do all of these things, the main goal for this is to lift heavier. That is why the compounds go right after your warm up and the accessories go after that. To lift heavier, to be more efficient with your time. The workouts that you get, think of it kind of like a blueprint, but it's not something that you 100% need to like do every single little perfect thing in the perfect order. I move my things all the time. As long as I'm getting them done, at like 90%, I'm fine with it, and I'm fine with you doing the same. And of course, when we lift heavier, when we are efficient with our time, we are able to continue getting more results. And that is it for today. I think that was pretty quick. Oh, no, it wasn't. I lied. So, as usual, we know that food is love, and in this case, strength is 100% power. Do we have any questions for today? Any questions, any questions? I know I just spit a lot at you, but again, if you know these things, I feel like it just helps you lift heavier. It helps you enjoy the gym. It's like, okay, this is why she did that. Oh, this is why the RDL comes after that. Like, that's what we're kind of going for here.
Yeah, I've got one. So I'm on the upper lower split, doing a 4-day week program. And always that first day of the 4 weeks, man, like, so that was yesterday for me. And today I am tired. And because we talked a little bit about this at a couple lessons ago about deloading. So I was very mindful of that. And I was trying to increase my weight, but also just take it slow, not go balls to the wall quite yet, But even today, still I'm like, oh, drag, and I'm so tired. So I got a little bit of the deloading, but is there anything else that I can do so I'm not so wiped this second day?
So week one kind of always wipes me also.
Okay.
Because it's a whole new stimulus that you're giving to your body. And even though it's not completely different, it's still a different stimulus where you're working even smaller muscles. And it just makes you more tired. So that's very, very, very normal. Number one thing when it comes to recovery and is gonna be your sleep. If we can do anything to like, okay, I'm sleeping a little bit extra because that workout really wiped me out, right? That's ideal. But I always find that week one, there will be one workout that absolutely destroys me and just makes me very sore. But I don't get as sore week 2 and 3. And then week 4, I get sore again because I go harder. So that's like very, very normal.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool. Thank you.
no problem. Thank you for asking. Any other questions? I also find with soreness, I feel like it depends person to person as well. So you guys might know Anna. She was my training partner for like years and she's here with me as well. We never get sore on the same day. The other day she texted me, she's like, oh my God, lower 2. That was so hard. And I was like, no, it wasn't. That was not like, it did not wipe me the way that it wiped you. But we are never on the same page. So I feel like that is very person to person. Squats kill me, deadlifts kill her, overhead press kills her, bench press kills me. Like it just doesn't make sense, but they kind of realize like it is kind of individual. But it is normal that one workout will probably take you out. Another thing to go on that is the way that you guys move around your workouts, I also don't care. So I leave my hardest, heaviest workout for Saturday because I have more time. Monday, I just probably did stuff on Sunday and I'm a little tight, so that's usually my easiest. Today, I needed my quickest workout, so I did what is usually my last workout, I did today, which is my first workout. So I don't care how you guys move it around. Once you do week 1, you get a baseline of like, oh, this is the flow of those. Week 2, move them around however you see fit.
I
Any
have
other?
a question. Yeah,
Yes.
I have a question in regards to like, because I'm like the beginning, I'm just like the first month, and so I'm working, and I do like working out, and I also teach dance classes. So I'm dancing and doing a lot. So when the weekend comes, I'm exhausted. And I've noticed I've at the beginning I usually walk on the weekends and I go for long walks, hiking and that kind of stuff, which is really good for my soul. But I've been really tired. But then I realized that I'm getting then when I go on Monday, it's it's like a recovery. Like I don't know, I'm like it's harder even to go on a Monday. So it's like, what do you recommend on those like Saturday and Sunday on how to think about like, because I've been trying to, I'm gonna go and do yoga during this week, and then I just want to sleep and I just don't want to do anything. So I don't know, like, what do you recommend for for that in the middle moment.
Yeah.
What
So
else?
again, sleep is always gonna be our number one thing. So for me, by Friday, I'm like super, super tired. And cause before I used to be like, Friday, I'm gonna go out to eat with my friends, or like I'm gonna do stuff. Now I'm kind of like, I need to recover because if not by Saturday, I'm so, so tired. So I try to just prioritize like that wind down day really helps me. And another thing that helps me is sleeping in at least one day. At least one day, it being like a catch-up day. Things that will get you, so we were just talking about like your sleep schedule as well. Things that help us in our recovery and overall our energy is gonna be how consistent your sleep schedule is. If you're always going to sleep at the same time or around the same time and always waking up around the same time, your energy is gonna be much better than if you were sleeping 5 hours and 7 hours and 8 hours, like all of that, your body doesn't really get the chance to adjust to them. So as best as we can to have a strict schedule and then try having a sleep-in day. For me, it's Sunday. I usually don't set an alarm and I try to get 9 hours of sleep. I can sleep forever, but I try to get 9 hours of sleep rather than during the week. If I'm getting like, let's say 7, those extra 2 hours help me.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, Sundays too, I try to go to sleep a little bit earlier. I just feel like Sundays, I mean, it doesn't really matter, but if you can sleep in one day. Especially since you don't sleep too much during the week, it'll help you recover and get a little bit more of that rest throughout the week. Anybody else have any questions or any questions not related to today, it could be your nutrition, anything that's come up for you in the past week or past 2 days since you started? And then I'll let you guys go.
Well, I have another question. I have I have a bunch of questions. I write
I love
questions all the time.
questions.
Yeah. It's just like in the case of measuring like all the macro and like I see, you can see the measurements of like moving as you're getting closer to the number of the carbs and the fat and like protein, it seems like, and I'm like trying to increase the protein, but then everything else goes up. Nothing. It's just because I love the science of it. It's the same thing like what I love about movement, because just listening to now you explaining, I was surprised when I was lifting a hip thrust at 90 pounds. I was like, how did this happen? I was like doing 40 or 20 that was like beautiful. And to understand that it's like, okay, I shouldn't be surprised. This is part of the process. But then with the protein and like the food part, it's really tricky still for me. Like I want to make sure I get enough protein, but it seems like everything I add up, it just messes up the rest of the numbers. So
Yeah, for you, it's hard because you are plant-based and most of your proteins are coming from like protein sparse foods, which are, for example, if you were to have like something high in protein like tofu, that's a lot of protein in there versus if you were to have beans, there is some protein, but there's also the same amount of carbs, which is why you're noticing that your carbs go up. So if there's any way that you can get more like tofu or see-in, protein powder, I would keep to like a scoop per day, 2 scoops max. I wouldn't go too much in there. I think that's a good amount. But I would look into how you can find that protein source. Tofu, see-in, tempeh, very, very good ones. I personally, I'm plant-based too, so I feel like it's impossible for me to hit my protein if I don't have tofu. Or I do eggs. I don't know. I don't think you do eggs.
no, I do eggs too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing with that is I was always a carb girl, so mentally and like visually on my plate, it was kind of difficult not seeing so many carbs and seeing more of that protein because I love, like I have bread and rice and I love it. So when you mentioned like you're a science girl, I kind of tied in that more of the science of like, why do I want more protein on my plate? Right? And for me, visually, I used to be like, if there's not a lot of rice, I'm not gonna be full. But realistically, protein makes you more full than rice does, or that a carb does. So that helps me, and now I'm at the point, because at the beginning, I was a fighter with protein, I did not want it at all. But now I can have like a bowl of a very, very high protein meal and I can enjoy it. I could just have a bunch of tofu on my plate and I could enjoy it, which is not something that I could do. So I always think like, this is gonna keep me full for longer. This is good for my recovery and for my muscles. And it also increases your metabolism. So those three things kind of made me enjoy having more protein on my plate. And now when I have too many carbs, I actually feel tired. So I would start thinking about it in a different way, number one, and two, finding more of those sources. Have you seen the call that we had on the protein? I think we had.
Did I see it? I don't know. I've seen so many videos.
Yeah, I think we did it right before you joined, so I'll
Okay.
send it to you because it takes you through like different plant-based vegetables, like different options that you can add to your diet. But it takes time, that number
Yeah.
will trickle up, but it's never just gonna be like, oh, you're having 60 grams and all of a sudden you're having 120. It's gonna be like, oh, now I'm having 65 and 70, and then you kind of trickle up there.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Anybody else? Got good questions today, I like it. Sorry if you went over this, I'm on 3 workouts a week and now. Can I swap with a cardio session like rowing? I don't mind it. I don't mind if you switch an accessory for some type of workout that you enjoy. So if you just really like rowing, or if you wanna do a spin class, you wanna do a yoga class or something, I don't mind it. As long as you're getting those 3 lifts in and even one accessory, you can do the rowing. Is it because you like it, or does it feel like you wanna do more cardio? If it's, oh, I just wanna do more cardio and I should be doing more cardio, then probably not. But if you enjoy it, then I would say go ahead and swap it.
Thanks. I kind of enjoy it and I kind of miss it. So, and this week I knew I wasn't going to have time to get in the accessory workout. And I was like, I'm just going to do a really long session of rowing.
Yeah, that's fine. Or even if you want to do like in the accessory, I think you're actually in the follow along, so that would be different. So in other accessories where I give you like band work or isolation work, I don't mind if you just do like the band work and then go into rowing. So you only do like 15 minutes of like mind being stuff and then you row. But if you want to row because you like it and you miss it, I am not going to take that away from you.
Awesome. Thanks for explaining that.
No problem. Anybody else? Alright, I think we're good. Cool. And we're in good time. So again, thank you for being on this call today. If you guys ever have any questions or if you want to message me after, please let me know. Always shoot me a message or put it in the chat. Remember to push each other this week in the chat as well and push yourself. So love you guys. I'll see you next week.